Welcome to the final episode of Comic Watchers for 2018. Comic Watchers is brought to you by Comic Watch. Comic Watch is your source for all your comics and media news and reviews written by fans for fans. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Spread the word that we're coming for the clickbait sites. It's our time now. Coming to you from Oahu, I'm your host, Cody, and here's the rest of the squad.
Hello, Brian from Arizona, Comic Watch and Superheroes Bookclub.com.
Hi, I'm Derbs from Salt Lake City and ComicWatch.com.
Hey folks, it's John Jack. You can find me writing at ComicWatch.com. You can find me on Twitter at JohnBatusiJack. You can find me in my Facebook group for the love of comic books. Don't forget to subscribe if you like what you see and hear, and click the bell to enable notifications if you want to get notifications when we put out a new video.
Awesome. Well, it's been an interesting week in comics, some highs and some lows, and I'm going to kick it over to Brian to hit us with some of the news highlights from this past week.
Yeah, so this week we'll start off Stan Lee, or Marvel's Comics tribute to Stan Lee. I believe DC will also have something coming out. I've seen a few books that they've released, and they all have tributes in them. Border Town is canceled. Eric Esquivel, writer, is under some allegations. Border Town is canceled and is recalled, which is the second book from Image that is being recalled within the last couple of months. The other one, I believe, is JJ?
Dead Rabbit.
Dead Rabbit.
Border Town's on Vertigo, though.
What is?
Border Town's Vertigo. It's not Image.
Oh, that's right. I don't know why.
But it is the second book to be recalled.
Yeah, I don't know why I assumed that it was from Image. Anyway, I think it's because I got it at the same time as Errand Boys, and I got a bunch of Image comics, so I think I just ended up picking it up from there. Either way. So we have some major casting news for DC Universe's Stargirl. Head over to comic-watch.com. JSA fans will be happy to see the least. Comixology's top 5 this week is Batman Annual, Batman Who Laughs, Superman 6, Batman Damned #2, Avengers 11, and coming in close is Batman Detective Comics 994 and Miles Morales #1. And I think I was wrong on. Oh yeah, it was Avengers 11.
Cool, and I think Derbs, you had some news for us too, right?
Oh, just geekandsundry.com just released that Deborah Ann Wool is that's Karen Page from Netflix's Daredevil is going to be starting a new D&D series that is going to be R&R, Relics and Rarities. That should be coming up within the next month or so. So I'm really excited about that. Just wanted to give her a shout out.
Yeah, very cool. Like it's been an interesting week, other than the Border Town news, which is moderately to insanely on the disturbing side. I hate to see cases of sexual malfeasance in the comics industry. It's heartbreaking. But otherwise, most of the news is really positive. The Stan Lee tributes, and you've got these JSA members being cast in the new Stargirl, which bodes incredibly well for Stargirl. I'm really excited about that. And anytime geek culture kind of gets spread into kind of some different corners, like the Geek and Sundry guys are doing, that's really cool. Like I'm appreciative of that. I probably won't watch it because it's not really my genre, but I do like to hear these kind of things spreading kind of more into the mainstream, away from the fringes. This becoming more of the normal. So I think that's cool. That's good for all of us. So if we're ready, if nobody else has any news, I know JJ debated whether or not to mention that Conan will be the final Avengers member in Jim Zub's Avengers No Road Home, but we all have...
Can't find the mute button.
We all have...
I'm so mad.
Let's call them mixed feelings about this choice.
I'm so mad.
I'm sorry, JJ. That's rough.
I'm like fumbling at the mute button.
So our spotlight book this week a little bit of out of left field. You know, we could have done, you know, the Batman Who Laughs. We could have done Miles Morales as a spotlight. There's a lot of things that could have been the spotlight, but I think what we ended up choosing was a book that really resonated with all of us. And, you know, pretty much everyone I've talked to at Comic Watch, you know, amongst our dozens of writers, everyone walked out and said, oh my God, this book was touching, amazing, like an incredible psychological ride. And that's the Batman Annual #3. It was written by Tom Taylor of All New Wolverine fame, X-Men Red, DC's Injustice series, or Injustice 2 series. Tom King wrote it. Otto Schmidt did the art. And I mean, this was a really remarkable book. At its core, and I'll let
Tom
somebody
Taylor.
else. Did I say Tom King?
Yep.
Man, that's embarrassing. I'm sorry, Tom Taylor. You know I love you. Tom King, you know I don't. I'm really embarrassed right now. All right, so
Couldn't leave the opportunity to kick King.
I knew you guys were going to do that. That's why I didn't want to do Batman. I knew you guys would take an opportunity.
I was not even intending on it. I actually intended on completely avoiding it. But I'm sorry. Okay. So Batman Annual #3. We get a picture of a day in the life from the focalization of Alfred. So this is Alfred fretting over Bruce being sick, over whether or not he's going to get the same phone call for Bruce that he got for Thomas and Martha, that they're not coming home. And of course, with Thomas and Martha, the call was completely accidental. You know, this was just a series of unfortunate events. With Bruce, he's putting himself into that position every day, every night, over and over again, to force Alfred to potentially one day have to take that call. So you get this really beautiful psychological study of what it's like to be a father figure in that role. You know, you haven't slept. I see the mint on your pillow is still there. I ate the mint. It was a passive-aggressive attempt. And now I'm being aggressive in case you missed that because you haven't seen your bed yet. I mean, it's a series of really beautiful moments. Bruce gets himself into some trouble, some serious trouble. And I mean, who can he call? Right? There's only one person. There's only one person at home that's ready for the call, and that's Alfred. And Alfred, like, balls out, like, gets on a cowl and goes out there and saves Bruce's bacon. And I'm sorry. I got emotional reading this. Like, looking back at it and thinking back at it, like, I'm emotional now beyond my previous embarrassment. So why don't I kick it over to one of these other guys now that you kind of have a general idea? Because I don't think I could tell you the end without breaking down. Derbs?
Well, it was just really sweet, all the way through. It kind of had these. It's really obvious that Tom Taylor is just a Batman fan, and it's one of those stories that's just kind of like, yeah, if I was writing for Batman, that's a story I would like to write. I mean, he just did a really, really great job, and all the dialogue's on point. Just everything that at the very end. I mean, you just need to read it. I kind of don't want to spoil it. I just want people to read it. But my favorite line, though, was Batman asking if Alfred was asleep. And Alfred says, "Of course not, sir. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Why would I be sleeping?" You know. That's all I've got.
Yeah. I mean, like, oh, go ahead, B. Go ahead, B.
Yeah, so for me, this was an awesome book. Like, I love Tom Taylor. This Batman story was one of my all-time favorites. I really liked it because when Bruce got stabbed and needed help. He called Alfred. What was Alfred doing? Like at 3 o'clock in the morning, he was ironing, and he just grabs his coat and saves his ass, more or less. The panels, for some reason lately, I've been really focused on panels and layout in comic books. I don't know why all of a sudden I've just started picking that kind of stuff up. The panels in the layout is stunning. I really liked how it's stacked or full page. The art's really cool. The writing, I mean, Tom Taylor does it again. I mean, Tom Taylor is probably one of my favorite writers. The story itself is warm, it's not heartbreaking in the fact that it's something that, you know, dramatic happens. Like most comic books, when we talk about something that's heartfelt, you know, usually somebody ends up dying or something, or a superhero aspect of it. It was really cool to see something behind the scenes. I mean, for me, it made me think, well, Alfred's actually the real hero. He never sleeps. The man's tired. So, I mean, for me, it was just an awesome, awesome book. And I'm glad that I got to read it. And I'm also glad that it's #1 for this week in Comixology.
And it's not even that Alfred's the real hero. Those guys are a duo. You don't really get to see Alfred a lot when Batman's off doing Justice League stuff, and that real macro type of writing takes a lot of this intimacy away from Batman, because he's got to fit in the Trinity, and he's got to fit with the rest of these, you know, crazy cosmic supers. And that's why I'm actually never really been a fan of the Justice League. I'm not really big into that side of DC. We've talked about it before, but just these types of intimate stories that are really well written, really on point, and just very, it's very tender, but there's an edge to it. It's just, very, 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 very good.
I also liked how the Batmobile turned into like a med bay. Like they're hauling ass. Alfred's like said autopilot or something, med bay. It all comes out. I was like, I barely can get my car to turn on half the time.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a really great sequence. Like, not only is it, this is like the most expensive of Bruce's gadgets. So of course, seat retract, med bay mode, auto drive to, Leslie's hospital or Leslie's clinic or whatever. But like the way that Alfred under pressure was so collected, like knew exactly what to do, how to do it, how to execute all these things. Like, I mean, Taylor's voice for these characters, Taylor's voice for Bruce is so spot on.
Yeah.
It was really a work of art. And like you said about the layouts, Schmidt used negative space like a goddamn genius. Like that book was really, really, really well crafted.
And I wanted to mention a big part at the beginning of the book. I think correct me if I'm wrong, because I read it, one of the first things that I read last week, so I'm trying to do this by memory. But Alfred was saying before he got the call for about Bruce's parents, that he was ready to leave. Like he didn't want to be a butler his whole life. Like, he was only going to be there. And then after Bruce's parents died, he ended up just taking care of Bruce, and it became not just like a job for him. This is his life. It's his whole mission in life, which makes the ending that much more powerful. Like this guy didn't have to take care of Bruce when his parents died at all. He doesn't have to help him be Batman or save him. It's his love for Bruce Wayne and accepting that he is Batman that makes Alfred such a special character.
Yeah, they both became Batman when he got that phone call.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and that's kind of an undersold point over the years, is Alfred was just a butler, and now he's the father of Batman. Like, that's huge. This wasn't just a life-changing moment for Bruce and his traumatic evolution to the Golem myth, but it's a life-changing moment for Alfred as well, and not just in an employment standpoint, but like an actual like life altering event. And Taylor obviously gets trauma in a way that few writers do, which is scary a little bit too. Like I'm sorry, Taylor, for whatever trauma that you had to experience to get that, but I'm glad that you're able to mobilize it in the ways that you have. Between this and X-Men Red, like Taylor is leapfrogging writers right now, in my opinion, as far as, best current age writer.
He wrote
Right.
He wrote all new Wolverine, right?
Right.
Yeah, Taylor, you're one of my favorite writers. I think I voted for you in our award show, which I think I think we're actually supposed to announce it today, but I think I forgot to get that.
That's okay.
I
I could use a little bit of time before we get to that too. So,
yeah.
So JJ, we haven't heard from you yet.
Wait, today's Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Oh, you gave me a Monday deadline for that picture. Brian.
JJ, we haven't heard from you yet. What's going on in your world?
I've just been sitting here politely. I thought it was really good. I think issues or stories where Alfred is highlighted as being more than just an employee of Bruce's are, really pretty few and far between. But when they do show up, they can often be pretty touching. Last Rites had a lot of Alfred as from Superman and Wonder Woman bringing the suit Bruce died in back to Alfred and asking him if he was okay, and Alfred saying, "No, I'm not. My son has died." And Bruce's final message he left to Alfred in that same arc, where he said, "Goodbye, Dad. I love you." I got Cody. I just got a little bit of goosebumps. And then, there's stuff like 0 Year coming up through. Even the first Tom King Batman arc touched on it a little bit. Alfred is more than a butler. And, and as a parent also, you guys are talking about getting up at 3 a.m. My son's sick right now, and when they're coughing at 3 a.m., you get up. You get up and check on them every single time, even if it means you get up 14 times a night, which I did last night, which is why I'm a little slow. He's better now. He has medicine in a movie. But I guess that's all I got to say is, I just had to get Cody. That's all.
You got me. Yeah, making me think about that last rights issue. I mean, that was a really powerful
God, it's
moment.
brutal.
And this was an equally powerful moment to me. Like this was, I mean, I've already voted. I've already cast my ballots for Books of the Year, but this might have been on my Books of the Year list. So if you haven't gone and picked up Batman Annual number 3, it looks like a lot of you have by the sales charts so far. But if you haven't, this is not your typical annual throwaway fare. So I highly recommend it. Go pick it up. If you didn't pick up Batman Annual 2, Annual 2 was another tearjerker. So if you're looking to get some crying in during this holiday season, as I'm sure many of us are, go pick up those two.
It's not as good. It's less good.
Yeah, the first one was kind of a throwaway. 2 and 3 have been absolutely fantastic. Some of the best books I've read in the last year. So
2 is probably Tom King's best Batman single issue, I'd say.
I would not argue with that. It was really well executed.
It was either that or maybe the Swamp Thing one. I like the Swamp Thing one a lot.
I don't remember the Swamp Thing one. I probably should. I don't.
Yeah, it was good.
So, does anybody have any final parting shots on Batman Annual number 3?
That was probably my favorite book in recent, at least within the last couple of months, hands down.
Those
Awesome.
types of issues are just some of my favorite. Just over the years, Magneto's had some other treatment. Just this comic that is that's why the annuals sometimes are really excellent, because you get to have that one-shot issue to tell this story that you want to tell. But yeah, Tom Taylor. Damn
is right. Yeah, I mean, annuals kind of get a bad name, especially when they get tied into like this is the launching point or this is the closing point of a major event, or things like that. But these one-off, I don't want to call them throwaways because they're not really throwaways, but these one-off annuals that are just self-contained tend to be some of the greatest stories I've ever read. Like the detective one that went through Clayface's evolution and the trauma he caused on that female Clayface type character. Like that was exceptional. That was so well done. So, keep your eyes on the annuals. If you want to skip the ones that are kind of trying to set up things like the Flash one that set up Flash War, go ahead. But don't sleep on some of these standalone one-off type issues because they have some of the best, most innovative stories I've read. So moving on from that, I think we've talked enough about how awesome Tom Taylor is for now. I'm sure we'll have more opportunities in the near future with Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man launching in January. Miles Morales Spider-Man #1 dropped this week with writer Saladin Ahmed and Javier Garron on art. And Brian was our reviewer on it. So we wanted to give Brian a chance to talk a little bit about our reintroduction to Miles Morales.
Yeah, so whenever #1s come out, I'm always kind of iffy about them because they want to retell the story and so on. But this one was actually the most brilliant way that I think I've ever seen a retelling of the history or catching people up, so to speak. They had the idea of a journal, and he's retelling his life through a journal entry, it's short and sweet. It's really good. So he's going through school, he's going through the city, being Spider-Man, and then he sees a bank robbery, Rhino's involved, and then from Rhino, they meet these like robotic type of kids, so to speak, and takes Rhino out. Rhino's actually not robbing the bank, it's the kids. They know where his niece is. It's just a really, really fun book. They gave us some love for the review. Yeah, I mean, my only thing was it's not my favorite art. It's kind of cartoonish, but it's not a bad. I also like darker art. So this is very bright art, I guess you could say, or very smoothish art. I don't know. I have my art taste is really weird. So check it out.
Yeah, I thought the art was actually really good. I mean, I know you didn't say the art is bad. It's just like a kind of a taste thing. But I do remember just reading it and just really enjoying the layouts and really I don't know. The faces were just really, really well done. Like you can tell they're really trying to sell this book. But the back and forth with Rhino is some of the best. Just the old school with the new school, and putting Miles to the test with something that's really an unstoppable type of force. Yeah, it was really really good judgment on the writing there.
Yeah, and again, the art. I mean, I agree that the art is good. My preference for art is Michael Gaydos, who I can't think of his name. Who does Thor? Michael Del Mundo? Mike Del Mundo? Am I saying that right? No? Yeah? Okay. That type of art is my favorite. Oh, you're saying no, that you didn't like the art. Okay. That's my type of art because it's kind of watercolor and it can be dark. But the art there was great too, just out of my favorite. It wasn't.
I mean, establishing Michael Gaydos as the bar to hit, like that's That's kind of brutal. Like he's super insanely talented. I liked the art. I thought it was a really fitting art for the book. Like I'm with you. It's not really my favorite style of art, but if they had done this art in like a more kind of common, standard, mainstream mass production style, I just don't think it would have worked as well. Like Derb said, the facial expressions were really emotive. I thought that their attempts at politics, like we talked about this a little bit before the show, like the ways that they approach the political climate in America right now, with detainees and separating families and all of that, I thought was really well done in this book, almost in exact contrast to X-Men Black Magneto #1, where with the Magneto one, it felt like story time out. Now I'm going to spend 2 pages preaching to you. With this book, it felt really organic to the story, and I mean, part of that plays into the fact that Miles Morales is half Hispanic, has friends, as we meet in this story, that are immigrants that have had that chance to have been separated, Miles being one of them. So I thought that was really well done. I thought Ahmed did an exceptional job in weaving all of that into a cohesive narrative without losing the ball, which is these immigrant children are disappearing and apparently being weaponized by somebody. And I really look forward. I really didn't expect a lot out of this issue. I never bonded with Miles Morales, so this was kind of my first solo Miles Morales book. So I thought, this would probably be a one and done with me. But I'm looking forward to actually reading more and seeing where this goes and how they develop him. Like, he's a really endearing character, and I really had never experienced that.
Yeah, I really like the politic part because it didn't overshadow the story. It brought into real life situations and something that can easily affect them and their community that they live in. One other thing about the artwork I did want to mention is that kudos to the details in the clothing that they're wearing. Like, it was very modern and it was very realistic to what you would see. And the colors are a solid 10 in the book. Like, I'm also a big color fan. Like, that right there was a solid 10 for me. And for me, when I say cartoonish, some people may think like literal cartoon. Me, it's more like an animated series that's done really well. And I think that was done really well. But I did like the politic part of it because it did play into a real life narrative. And that's really rare that we get that in a comic book, because it also kind of dates what's going on in life. Like in 10, 20 years, whatever our future is going to look like, if we're all still here, we can look back and be like, that was a real thing that was going on in our lives, and it was big news headlines. So I really appreciate that kind of stuff because it helps me remember when I'm reading 10, 15 years from now. Oh yeah,
like Superman fighting all those coal mine barons we got to deal with nowadays.
Right, right. Like I don't know if I'd go so far as to say this is an uncommon occurrence. I just wrote in my master's thesis a couple of years ago about an issue where Superman was in a classroom educating people about Hawaii, which was our newest state. So I mean, like this kind of thing is constantly happening, and I love it. Like, I think that's one of the great things. Like, the comics industry, like Action Comics, there's no better time capsule for 20th century America.
Oh, yeah, you read 50 years worth of Action Comics, you get a good slice of the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, that's one of my favorite things about comics is this ongoing, like, it's always in the now, but never moving forward, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's actually true. Like, thinking back to even the X-Men, like, without them saying it, like the legacy virus. That was a big storyline that went along with HIV.
Right.
Yeah, so now that I think about it, like, it's always happening. Maybe just it's done subtly that I may not think of it or connect it, where this was kind of more like, oh, this is a headline. Also, when I'm a kid, I probably don't pay too much attention to that and the correlations of real life, or maybe I did, I don't know. But now that as an adult, I'm like, oh yeah, I see that because I read the news every day. But,
Right. Well, I mean, and this is kind of the I almost hesitate to say it, but I'm gonna say it anyway because fuck it, why not? This is almost the anti-Comicsgate argument. Like this is when politics enter comics and are done organically, as opposed to some storylines that have come out in the last 5 to 10 years that have kind of put the politics center and put the narrative in the background. Here, it was so organic that I thought it was a really well done take. I don't know what's happening. I don't know where I mean, poor Jack is sick, so I'm sure he's tending to Jack. But
he may be back. Yeah, and the thing is, if you didn't read it or look at each panel, you could easily skip over that.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah, because it was mostly like newspaper headlines and then kind of vague references to it. So I mean, this was one of the best I've seen in a very long time. I did not read. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I did not read Ahmed's Black Bolt series. I wasn't really reading a lot of Marvel at the time, but I think I might go back and read it. Like he's definitely piqued my interest in his ability to kind of weave a narrative together, and I think that's one of the great strengths of comic writers. So.
Yeah, I enjoyed that Miles talking to his mom about it. It did feel like a conversation a teen would be having from a teenager's perspective about it. I mean, even though he's a superhero and he gets his hands dirty, it felt like an organic conversation that a teen kid would have with his mom in the kitchen. One thing, not to be just to agree, but one thing I did think about the art, to talk about the art again, was that it really did feel appropriate for a Spider-Man book. Like I thought that while I was reading it. And I love it when there's kind of that agreement when we talk about shit, because it's like, okay, I'm onto something. I think I'm not just out in the night thinking about crap when I'm reading it. Usually when we all have agreement about something, it's pretty obvious that that's what's going on. It's pretty fun to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of rare that we all agree on something. Actually, I think we more joke about it. I think we actually do agree on more stuff than we do. I think for content of the show, we just want to argue.
It's just manufactured drama. There's no real like.
Yeah, it's like more manufactured and written scripted, like Real Housewives of the OC or something. Which, by the way, I'm kind of sad that show's over right now. And I agree. And I think I wrote that in my review that the artwork fits Spider-Man. I don't think a different type of spider or a different type of artwork would have worked for this book at all. And so that I 100% agree with. I really liked that his dynamic is he's still a teenager. Yeah, he goes and saves the world essentially, but he's still a teenager. He still has the teen drama. He still has those teen ideas, trying to figure out his life, what he is, and still trying to just be a superhero. So it's really, really a unique look at that. Usually I don't, I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, well, Miles is revisiting like being a young Peter Parker. It's about like we have had adult Peter Parker for a long time, but there's a lot of people who still think about Peter Parker as being a kid. He's been a kid in all the movies. We need a kid Peter Parker again, and so that's why we've got Miles, and it's a different narrative, right? I mean, but Peter Parker was a teen in the '60s. Anyway, yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, I really appreciate that with Miles in my limited exposure, is that he is very similar to Peter, but he's not Peter. And I mean, they make that very well known in the ways that the two differ. And I think that was really well executed here, really well captured. We haven't heard from JJ. I know JJ, you got your hands full. I've been there, man. Totally understand. But yeah, what were your thoughts on the book?
On Miles Morales? Yeah. I thought it was really good. I liked the story for the most part. I did feel like the political talk was a little bit a little ham-fisted at times. Mostly in the scene when Miles and his mom are standing in the kitchen and talking about immigration. but overall, I thought the story was good. Um, I thought the fight with Rhino was really good, and I liked the way that Rhino was kind of talking. He kept, "Why don't you go home and play Sega?" Seriously, how old are you? Kind of a funny, um, Rhino's existed since the mid '60s. Spider-Man 41, I think. Um, so it's kind of a funny thought that Rhino's an old man. He's still big and strong, but he's 60.
Well, I mean, in comic books, nobody ages. Like, I think recently, Peter was barely like 24 or something, and in the book Spider-Man, he was like, oh, when they were talking, Peter was referenced, oh, I'm only a few years older than him.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
to know about
I think
Sega,
Peter-
it would only have to be like our ages.
Right.
He knows about Sega.
I think the Marvel sliding time scale is every 10 years is what, 5 years?
Okay.
Don't subscribe to that theory. That's such a crap attempt to capture something that is magical and ununderstandable. If you would like to read more about the temporal paradox in comics, I highly encourage you to find Umberto Eco's 1972 essay, "The Myth of Superman," where he talks specifically about the problems of having an inconsumable narrative in a time of consumable narratives. And that's all I'll say about that. But go read that. It's excellent. It stands up to the test of time. Screw sliding time scales. That stuff never works. It only works for the moment that the time scale was invented in.
Right.
Yeah.
For one other thing about the book and it's really weird. Like, I've been noticing the more that I read, the more that I review, the things that I notice all changes a bit. And with with Miles Morales Spider-Man #1, this is the first time I actually really noticed the lettering and it stood out to me. So I want to give a big shout out to Corey Pettit, who's VC's letterer for Marvel. It worked really, really, really well.
I mean, if there's such a thing as a titan in the field of lettering, like Corey Pettit is definitely among the Mount Rushmore of letterers. This guy is an absolute monster. He's so freaking good. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, just how he incorporated the journals, like you knew that it was from the journal. You knew when Miles was having a thought, and then it worked really, really well. And that's all I have on Miles Morales, Spider-Man #1.
The lettering on Batman Annual 1 was really cool too. Like the font they used, it was very close to it reminded me very much of the animated series. It was very much
Annual 1 or 3?
3, sorry. The one we
okay.
just talked about. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I actually noticed it in that book too, but I don't know which one I read first, so I didn't want to give one. Anyway, never mind.
Yeah, no, that came to us from a World's Best's Tori Peteri, I believe. And it's not a letterer that I've actually encountered before. So I look forward to seeing more from a World's Best and their stable of letterers. I agree with Derbs. Like, that was really well done too. Like, we picked 2 exceptionally lettered comics this week, which is, letterers don't get any love. So here is some love to all the letterers of the world. Thank you for giving us something to actually read. So if there's no final thoughts there on Miles Morales, JJ went and saw Into the Spiderverse this weekend and wrote up a review. I know you're super distracted, but if you could give us a quick rundown of what your thoughts on Into the Spiderverse were, we'd all appreciate it. I don't think any of the rest of us have had a chance to go see it yet.
Yeah. So I've been reading Spider-Man for about 24 years now. And this is pretty much just the best feeling representation of Spider-Man and Spider-Men. There's just multiple. Sorry, Jack's getting in the closet. But but
And it looks like we lost John Jack. I don't know if his phone died or.
He said that he was having a little trouble earlier with his phone.
Okay, so maybe his phone died. Maybe he'll come back and talk to us about Into the Spider-Verse. Oh, I'm getting pings all over the place. I don't know what's happening.
Arya's in chat for JJ.
Oh, yeah. His phone auto hung up. So we're good. In the meantime, Brian, did you come up with some questions for... Oh, there's Jack. John,
Sorry,
Jack. Welcome back.
Minor technical difficulties.
Shit happens.
So Spider-Verse was animated Sony. Jack, pick it up. Was an animated Sony Spider movie, where Kingpin is trying to pull his wife and son, who are killed in their universe, from a different universe, and opens a hole into the multiverse. And during Spider-Man is involved and gets dipped into the multiverse beam or whatever you want to call it. And so it focuses on Spider-Man and sucks Spider-Man from different dimensions. So you get this is set in 1610, the Ultimate Universe, which is where Miles is from, coincidentally. And Miles is the main character in this movie. But so it brings 616 Spider-Man, it brings Spider-Man Noir, it brings a Japanese future Spider-Man, it brings Spider-Ham, all of which are interesting and fun. And so they need to get back to their home universes within a couple days, or they all start to die because their atoms are disintegrating, being in the wrong universe. So they're all trying to get back into their home universes, and they have to sneak back and stop Kingpin because the machine he's built is also opening a black hole under New York City. It's a really good movie, visually just amazing. Probably one of the funnier, more entertaining Spider-Man things I've ever seen, counting pretty much every animated series, all the live action movies. It's visually just amazing. Like the animation style isn't kind of necessarily for me, like me and Cody were saying, but I feel like it's very, very quickly overcome and turned into something completely more than the sum of its parts. I also didn't quite like the music very much. It's pretty rap and pop music heavy, which are very much not my style. But you can't knock it for that. That's every movie nowadays. Go see it. My 4-year-old loved it too. So I will say there are a couple like near off-screen deaths during the movie. I'm not going to say who, but if it's PG, so it's safe for a child to see. But if your child's sensitive or scares easy, it might be worth waiting.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you said that, because I have a 4-year-old as well who had a complete meltdown when Ash considered leaving Pikachu with a tribe of Pikachus. So she is ultra sensitive. I will probably wait and show this to her in a year. So yeah, thank you for that. It sounds interesting. Like I'm glad to hear what you think about the animation. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Probably when it comes out in digital. I probably won't go see it in the theater, but Derbs is talking about seeing it in the theater, right?
Yeah. I was originally going to review it, but just didn't work out this last weekend. But I mean, by all accounts, it's really highly rated. My wife isn't really huge into comic stuff, but even she wants to see this one. So
Cool.
And I think I thought it was PG-13, but I could be wrong. Just PG. but it's the same animators that did the Lego movies too. That's why it's a little bit kind of stop motion looking a little bit. It's kind of a little, what would you call it? Kind of stuttery. It's a similar process, just no Legos. Yeah, they're not using the Lego assets. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to Aquaman too.
Right, Aquaman comes out this Friday to mass public. Some of you have already seen it because it was released a little bit early for Amazon Prime members. But the masses will be able to see it this Friday, December 21st. And that looks like it's going to be just a killer movie. Like, if nothing else, like a great popcorn flick, maybe better than that.
Yeah, I have to get up to watch that movie at 11 a.m. For me, that's early. So, in order to see it in 3D IMAX, because it was either that or at like almost a midnight showing. So, screw it. I'm gonna go do it.
I told the comic book store guy, like, even if I hate everything about the story, the character, whatever, it's still there's still a giant crab and a dinosaur fighting, and I'll probably have a good time.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I think it's gonna be really good. Like, I think this is gonna be the DC movie that lands the way it's meant to. Lands or sees, I guess, the way it's meant to.
Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse right now, according to International Movie Database, has an 8.8 out of 10 rating, which is really good because they are really hardcore on their scoring. Yeah, so what's going on, guys? You're on mute, Derbs.
Did you have questions for us, Brian?
I did have questions for you. I actually have really hard questions this week. I should have probably just had one, but so I'll give you the easy one first. Current favorite running series?
It's easy. Hawkman for me.
Yeah.
Venditti and Brian Hitch are just knocking it out of the park with that series every week or every month. I don't think I've rated any single issue, the 7 issues now, under a 9.6 out of 10. Like, this is an absolutely fan-freaking-tastic series.
I think mine's probably Justice League Dark. Justice League Dark's been pretty consistently excellent since the start. Justice League Dark.
It's funny. I actually dropped Justice League Dark.
I dropped Justice League Odyssey and Justice League, but I still have Justice League Dark.
Yeah, I don't know why I did. I think I just got far behind when they were doing the Wonder Woman, and they had that one-shot one, and then I just ended up just not picking it up afterwards, which is really stupid of me because I really like the book.
Well, the 2 issues since were kind of a self-contained little thing. You could probably pick up the last 2 issues pretty easy if you wanted to.
No, I will, because I really liked it. Like, that was actually one of my favorite. Like, Bobo's the man. Well, he's the chimp, but he's the man. Derbs, what about you?
Punisher right now.
Oh, Punisher is good.
Everything about Punisher right now is just. I wish I was reviewing for that one. It's probably a good thing I'm not, because I would just glow and glow and glow about it, and it would just kind of, I don't know. I need to steal that one from, is it Matthew who's writing that one still? I need to steal that one from him. I need to bribe him.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I feel you on I love this book so much. I don't have anything bad to say about it. Like, that's how I feel about reviewing Hawkman every month, where it's like, but it's amazing. And maybe I shouldn't be writing it because I'm beyond the point of being able to be truly, honestly critical about it. Like, I love Brian Hitch. I love the direction the book is taking. So, it's tough. It's a hard world out there for us critics.
It's really hard being a film critic. But I really do not like Punisher's face. I mean, so I can say one thing bad about it.
You know, it's a good book when we have to search for things that are wrong with it,
Right?
which I feel like happens a lot. I think my favorite one is probably, you know, I had it down until Uncanny X-Men came.
Mm.
Because, I mean, that's been a solid series, although 5 was a little iffy. But the one that's most consistent for me is actually Batman. I know. Actually, I'm going to take it back. I'm going to go with Pearl because that one's probably still my favorite one. Like Batman's just sometimes hit and miss, where Pearl has been consistently solid for me.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Like I was leaning on my mute button so hard, like I don't want to unmute. All right.
My second
Cool.
question is, if you had only one comic, or I'm sorry, if you could only have one comic book to read for the rest of your life, and I will allow graphic novels or trade paperback for this, what would it be? For me, this was my easiest one.
Bruce Wayne Murderer.
Okay. Derbs, you have one yet? Because I saw you looking at something.
Yeah, I'm staring at. See, I thought I would say, you know, The Dark Knight Returns, but I've got The Watchmen staring at me, daring me to say it. Watchmen's just looking at me. Just, I dare you to say Dark Knight Returns. So, Dark Knight Returns.
All right.
Only one for the rest of your life.
Yep.
I'm gonna say Alison Bechdel's Fun Home. I would miss this is a terrible scenario, and I mean like a horrible hypothetical. But if I were looking for a single graphic narrative to read, I think that is the one that I would be able to pick apart over the years and find new things that I've thought were interesting, new ways to read it. So, yeah, I mean that's a brutal question. That's a brutal question.
It is. For me, it's actually Superman Red Sun, just because it was something that when I read it, it kind of changed how I looked at Superman. And then whenever I do something Superman related, it makes me want to do my best at anything that I'm doing at that time. So that was a constant reminder of what, anytime I read it, what to be the best no matter what the scenario is. So this is the second question. This one's going to be a little bit harder. JJ's out. Oh, JJ, did you pick yours? You picked yours, right? Yeah, okay. So the last...
Bruce Wayne Murderer for JJ.
So my last question is favorite or most memorable present that you've gotten for for Christmas that's comic book related.
Oh yeah, I got a story for you. I got a story for you about how devious my parents are. So there was one year, I want to say like this was 1993 or so, that all I wanted for Christmas was the death and return of Superman for Super Nintendo. And that was it. Like that was the only thing on my list. This is what I want. Please give me this game. And my parents, we didn't grow up wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. I would borderline say that we were on the poor side. So they always like to get a lot of presents, and you know, in retrospect, I see that they got a lot of stuff from garage sales, from flea markets, you know, whatever cheap means they could use to get as much stuff as they could. So I opened up a ton of presents that Christmas, and not a damn one of them was the Death and Return of Superman Super Nintendo game. One of them, however, was a puzzle, like a McDonald's 500 piece, maybe 1,000 piece puzzle. And I used to love to do puzzles as a kid. I still love to do puzzles. But it was one that I already owned. So I looked at it and it's like, you know, damn, Mom, you did this puzzle with me. So, you know, push all the gifts to the side, and I'm kind of sulking, you know, an hour or so after present opening. And it comes time where it's like, all right, well, let's do a friggin' puzzle. So I'm looking at this puzzle, and I realize it's already open. And then it starts to kind of click, like things start falling into place, and I realize it's already open because this is the puzzle that I already own. And I open up the puzzle, and the damn game is inside the puzzle box with all the puzzle pieces. So even if you shake it, like, you kind of can tell that the weight is different if you have done this puzzle many times, but not really. So I mean, like, just total blindsided. And I don't think they were going to tell me ever. Like, if I didn't stop and do the puzzle, I think I might have kept that game in a box for months. So yeah, that I think is my favorite comic-related Christmas story of all time.
That's a great story. Actually, I'm actually going to go next. I know I normally go last, but I'm kind of with you, Cody, on that. Where I mean, I grew up like dirt poor, like, you know, all those jokes about single wide trailers. That's all me. So yeah, you know, for like the longest time, it was just my mom and me, and then I either have an older set of siblings that are older, so it was literally just kind of me and my mom. So I remember one year, and it was kind of, I wasn't really into comics that year. Like, there's a big gap in my life where I was comicless, but I would go like kind of once in a great while. So one time she just randomly got the last 15 issues of Wildcats. And that was like amazing because that was my all-time favorite series. She ended up knowing where to go to get them. I don't even know to this day where she even would have gotten it or the idea that I even needed it. But she ended up getting it for me, and that was obviously awesome. JJ?
Nice.
It might be kind of obvious. I feel like I've shown this to you guys already, but probably Essential Spider-Man Volume 2, which was my introduction to Spider-Man, featuring the first ever Spider-Man versus Hulk fight in black and white. Issues 21 through 43 and annuals 2 and 3, all from let's see, I think it's like 66 through 68. I read it so many times it fell apart. I still love those issues.
What about you, Derbs?
I told you guys a story about me borrowing that copy of Batman, Michael Keaton's Batman, from my cousins and trying to steal it and all of that. So when I got it for Christmas that year, I mean, it was not too long after. It was a weird feeling owning it for myself. it was like I don't know. It was like being really hungry and starving and getting food and realizing, well, you don't want to eat it all, even though you would immediately, but you know, you don't want to eat it all because you know you're going to need some for later. So you just kind of that's what having that movie for me was like. I remember just like staring at the box. Yeah, that was one of the coolest presents I got, comic related.
And that's it for my questions this week. So please join us. Let us know, for those of you who watch, let us know below what yours are. Again, the 3 questions is current favorite running series. If you could read only one book or graphic novel, what would it be for the rest of your life? And your favorite or most memorable present that you received comic book related for Xmas or whatever you celebrate at home.
Yes. Yeah, there we go. So moving on to Future Watch, those were great questions, B. Like those were real head scratchers. Moving on to Future Watch, we've got a huge publishing week, and I think part of that has to do with the fact that DC is not publishing any books the week of the 26th. So you're going to see your last DC Comics releases of the year this week. Anybody got anything that they're particularly looking forward to?
Aquaman. Kelly DeConnick is taking over. Her
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Right.
And the final of Extermination, number 5.
Yeah. I'm really excited about the finale of Extermination. Like, that's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
Captain America's coming out. I feel like it's been a long time. Punisher
It
too.
does. Yeah, Cap always feels like it takes a long time for them to come out. I know it's coming out regularly, monthly, but
It's one of the few
it's
Marvel
so
books
good.
that isn't consistently delayed.
Right.
Oh, Iceman is coming out too, which I don't think any of us are really reading.
I gave up.
Did you give up?
Yeah, I stopped reading it.
I do like the cover art on it though.
And then I think I've got Punisher. Punisher's
Yeah, you
too.
do.
Yeah,
So-
there's new Punisher.
There's
Amazing
Batman.
Spider-Man.
Oh, the finale of Spider-Geddon. I am looking forward to that.
Yeah, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
finale of Infinity Wars too. I don't think any of us are reading it, but I know a lot of our viewers probably are, and that's closing down this week. I think that's
Gideon
you know
Falls
like
is
that's
coming out too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
true. Yeah,
So I read, I just saw Red Sonja because I was looking at comiclist.com, and I read last week, I read Red Sonja and Tarzan.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Go on.
I don't know if it was. I should have maybe read it from the start. Maybe. I'm not saying it was bad, but I probably won't pick up the next issue.
Right.
I wouldn't.
You would?
No.
Oh. No, because I'm really trying to like make an effort. Like whenever I see what's coming out, I try to make an effort to at least read a couple of my goal going forward is reading all the number ones that come out, which seems
No,
impossible.
never read a Tarzan comic made after 1960.
Okay. Or yeah.
That's
apparently.
actually that's advice. That's
Yeah.
solid advice.
So I always try to read number ones. I don't get to all of them, but I attempt to. And I was like, oh, okay, there wasn't a lot of number ones, so I picked that one, and I was like, why did I do this? Why
There was
did I
also
make
Code
this
Lax
decision?
of Tarzan in the Golden Age as well. I have a couple of those.
Yeah. Well, the new one. Yeah.
He had a pet chimpanzee.
So among some of our other hot books coming out this week, we've got issue number 4 of Cover. We've got issue number 5 of Pearl.
We're on the cover.
Second issue of we are on the cover of Pearl. That's right. The second issue of Boom Studios' Firefly series, which has been hot right out of the gates. Dead Man Logan number 2. We got a new Uncanny X-Men. We have Defenders: The Best Defense, the finale of that series of one-shots that most of them have been very well received. I know the Silver
actually pretty
Surfer one
excited
was
about
not
that.
as good as the others, but there's a lot of stuff coming out this week. Something for everyone. The debut of Superior Spider-Man. No, I'm wrong. That's the 26th. I'm wrong. Sorry. There's a Marvel General Christmas issue called Season's Beatings that comes out this week. Hopefully we'll have that review up on Christmas along with the X-Men Christmas and DC's Nuclear Winter. So check out www.comic-watch.com. On Christmas Day, we should have some fun content on Christmas Day. And I think that's it for our show, right?
Yeah. Can I just say, DC, thank you for not having anything the day after Christmas, because I'm already going to be broke with everything, so that's a good looking out. Also, I think the following week there's going to be some heavy hitters for comic books that are going to come out for DC. So this is the end of the show. Thank you
Bye,
for
everybody.
joining us. Please like us on Facebook at the Comic Watchers show, and then also check us out at www.comic-watch.com. Like us and or subscribe to our videos at YouTube, The Comic Watch. Anything else, guys?
Nope.
I just wanted to
I
say,
gotta
you know, a Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Festivus, Happy Winter Solstice, whatever possible events that you're celebrating this holiday season. We love you like a family. So I hope you enjoy it and spend it with your family and friends. I know most of us will be. So happy end of the year.
Yeah,
Thanks
we'll
for
see you
staying
next
with us
year.
as long as you have.
Yeah, we'll see you next year.